Hi everyone, I'm back. I apologize for my absence. Just before the holidays, it got really busy for me. Um, and on top of that, I've had car problems and they're still going on. So yeah, it's just stressful. Work gets really busy around the holidays because a lot of people schedule time off and then you're working short and then it's like you're still catching up even in January. So I feel like December and January just flew by. Um, so I can't believe it's already happy Imbolc to everybody that we're starting February. And of course, with Imbolc, it's like, yes, spring is just around the corner. It's very exciting. And so I just thought one of my New Year resolutions is to stick with my YouTube videoing. Videoing isn't even a word, I don't know. But so that's my goal. So here I am. Just a quick recap of what I did in January. I think I did say what decks I was going to be using. I might not have. I'm getting December and messed up, so who knows. But I thought I would just go over what I did use in January. And I also remember I said I would show you my crochet bag, so that's why I'll just show you the decks I worked with, what I thought about it, where my headspace has kind of been. I really do feel though, with all the stress that has been going on, January is fast and furious, but really my decks and my cards really helped me through that period of time. And I don't know about anyone else, but sometimes you just need something to like distract you or at least give you an idea. Okay, so this stuff is happening, but this is what you can deal with it. I always feel like trying to stay in the moment is the best. And I know that's even with my spell work, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's not so much, what happened yesterday, what's going to happen tomorrow. It's right now that creates your life and all your circumstances. So it's not exactly what's happening to you, it's how you react to it. So everything, I've been trying to keep on a positive note. So my first deck that I used in January was one of the newer ones that I got, and that was the Enchanted Forest. I actually really enjoyed working with this deck. The images are beautiful. The book with it is absolutely amazing. I enjoyed it. I like the spin on the cards. Look at that. Some of the names have been changed. It's spells instead of coins, and challenges. And for this, it's a hangman, and it's really called suspension on this card. But the name changes. I think when I first showed everybody this deck, I think I went into how they changed it. How appropriate. This is my year card. I don't know if everybody does their card for the year, but this is my card for the year. I haven't done my year ahead spread. That's how behind I am just with everything that's been going on. So that's probably going to be I'll do that this month because I do like to do those. But yeah, my card for the year is the Strength card, and I really think that's going to be my card last year was the Chariot. So I'm looking forward to having Strength as my card, and that is one of the things I'm going to explore is how I feel moving forward every month, how that Strength card is coming up in my life and how I'm using it and falling back on its message and where I'm seeing it in my life, either as a bonus or something that I need to be working on. So yeah, but just the images on this is just beautiful. Even the Lovers card. I actually like the equality in this card as far as, so many times, we think of the woman as, oh, she's just this pretty little thing. But they both have bows. They're both equal in everything. I feel that's a great representation. And just look at the 5 of Challenges. Just great. Love, 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 love. The images. I had so much fun. In fact, I know I will probably be going back to using this deck again, because I just had anything that has dwarfs and dragons and all of this stuff is just yeah, right up my alley. Ace of Spells. It's got the dragons for the aces. I just love it. And it's even thrown in some unicorns, so how can you go wrong? So yeah, I just enjoyed working with it. I think it was a deck that I really needed this month because it was so very, very busy, very, very stressful. As we all know, when you're dealing with car issues, is very, very stressful. I get into that, but later on because the saga continues with it. But it's kind of humorous. If I have to take it as humorous. And it's all good. So this is just an example. My bags are not fancy, and I tend to, obviously, I go with colors that I like, and so I try to, like, you know, it had like blue in this, so I thought, oh yeah, this one would be good with it, because I tend to buy yarns that I like, and then I try to, you know, I'm very frugal. I'm not going to buy like a bunch of different colors, and I get ones that I think are functional and will go a long way. So basically, yeah. So this is just very simple crochet, and I can whip these up really quick, and I just make them the size of the deck, so they fit, you know, pretty nice. And then I just crochet a little tassel string thing that I then wrap around the deck like so. And I feel like when I'm crocheting them too, this is just another thing of my intention. I put a lot of myself in making the bag for the deck, and while I'm crocheting it, I'm thinking about the deck and how it's, you know, it's just putting out there that it's going to be for my highest good. I'm going to get the best messages from it, and so it's just another way to connect with it, and it's something that I made myself. Although I'm going to be honest, I do have some decks that I don't crochet a bag for, and that I've actually been using. I don't. This is totally off of tarot or anything, but I get the Ipsy subscription, and some of those bags can be the little makeup bags can be really pretty. And I'm not. You get so many of them. I'm just frugal. I don't like to throw things away. So like we had one bag that had like astrology kind of signs on it, and I use that for one of my decks. And I can do another video on that and show you which Ipsy bags and which deck and why I paired it with it. So yeah, but these are my crochet bags. Very simple. Not a lot of, you know, they're not fancy by any shape. This one actually came out kind of strange and ended up being sideways. I don't know. I did not plan it. It was off as far as when I was making it, and I was like, well, I'm just going to continue. So it's kind of a sideways one. Like I said, very little of what I do tends to be a plan. The other deck that I used is the Universal Celtic Tarot. I like this deck. The book is really, yeah, no, I mean, if you really want to know anything about any of the Celtic references as far as myths and legends of the characters that they're using, sometimes the one they're using, I couldn't even find anything about them. So wasn't really happy on that aspect of it, but I do like the overall look and feel of the deck. And like I said, it does give you pause to start researching, because I'm like, who the heck is that? And and I'm like, I wonder if they mean this, or maybe that was a different name. Because that's one thing with myths and legends. Sometimes the characters had different names, or were known by different things, or people were similar. But I do like the imagery in it, and I do think this one's just hilarious to me. Seven of Wands, I just thought that was so appropriate. But it's a lovely deck. Like I said, there's some parts of it. I don't think it's one that if you get this deck, you're gonna know everything about Celtic mythology. No, you're not. And it's pleasing to the eye. Some of the stories behind the lovers, you can look into it and find a little bit more. And like I said, some of them were kind of obscure though, and there's not anything in this little white book. So, but because I love Celtic mythology and I do study it, and it's kind of like a passion of mine, for me it was okay. I think it really gave the feel of the ambiance, let's say, of it, but not so much if you know, don't, if you, you're not really going to learn about anything Celtic myth with this deck. It would be a good jumping off point, but again, like I said, some of the images you'd be like, I'm not sure who that person is that they're talking about and why they're using it on the card, but some do absolutely do fit. So, but it's gorgeous. I mean, I think to me, they're a bit narrow. The cards seem a bit narrow to me. It's not like a standard card size. But that didn't bother me either. To me, it's more about the image. I do like, I'm not one for trimming or altering my decks. If it, you know, the way they are, I've had some disasters, and I'm just not a very precise person when it comes to stuff like that. So I would be like, yeah, I had a disaster. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that again. I'm just not so brave. I'm not a brave soul when it comes to altering my cards. I think you spend too much money on them. If I had, let's just say, you know, if I was able to say, oh, well, I'll just go buy another deck, and it's not a big deal, but I have said several times now, I'm frugal, and it just, oh my, you know, but I love dragons, so you get those in here, and like I said, have said before, dragons, elves, you get that in a deck, and yeah, you've got me, and like I said, some of the Celtic stories, you can find out, and it's definitely a jumping off to learn more. But I love that one too. This is beautiful. So yeah. So there you go. There's that one. I'll end on the little leprechaun because he's coming in March. So yeah, I did enjoy using this deck. I think it was a great January transition deck for me because January is not one of my favorite times of the year. And now we're into February. It's just like, you know, after the holidays, I think everybody, you know, after Yule and everything, and it's just, yeah, it just seems to be very stressful. So I thought these were great decks. They gave me that very kind of hope springy kind of feel, which you'd think might be probably better to be used later, but I just need that hope that it's coming. Now January, now that we're in Imbolc is here, you'll see what my decks are that I'm planning to use. And the so the other tarot, because I think I've said before, I use 3 tarot decks, and I rotate them. I don't rotate them. I use, for my daily draws, I'll take a card from one deck, because I draw 3 cards a day, and so one from that deck, one from the Celtic deck, and then the other deck that I used, and this was because I haven't used this deck in ages. Part of it, I think I did do a video on how the cards became discolored because of the box that I was storing them in, and it just bothered me that some were like brown and some were so starking white. So I had to antique these, and I used those little square ink pad things. The name escapes me. On another video, I'll have to drag them out for you because I'm not going to get them now. But yeah, and so I just kind of, they have like antique stain kind of things. And it took a while because these cards are like, have like a gloss, so nothing really wants to stay on them. So I had to stain them. It's not 100% perfect. There is still like the initial cards that went kind of, you know, off colored because of the box. It took on the stain where the inside of the deck, they were all white, stark white. And this is just the Regina Victoria Tarot. Yeah, I think that's the way, Regina Victoria. Yeah, you can't get this deck anymore. So it was like one of my favorites. I love all things Victorian. And in December, I was using the Dark Mansions Tarot, which I absolutely love, and it has a huge, and someone else, because I was like, I don't know why I'm using this exactly, because people might think, you know, Dark Mansions is for Halloween, and then someone was saying, oh, well, but, you know, it's like, you know, Victorian, Charles Dickens, Christmas. So yeah, I enjoyed using that deck in December, and then I felt like I was still on the Victorian bent, and so then I thought, you know what, I got these cards so that I can actually look at them now without it irritating me to the point of madness. So now I like it. I mean, they look like, you know, it's not, it looks like something that has survived now since Victorian times. It's weathered, old, like you just found this in an attic, and I absolutely love the way they came out. It has saved this deck for me, which I love. And like I said, you no longer can get this deck anymore. And I love all things Victorian, huge Charles Dickens fan. I was an English major, and yeah. See, I think, like right here, this is like one of the original, I think darker. I don't know if you can see it. It's still a little bit darker than the other ones. I'm not sure how the camera's picking it up, but they're not so glaringly stark white. And to my eyes anyways. So now the way they look, I enjoyed working with this deck because I really hadn't, because I was so annoyed. And I still keep it in that same box, but now I keep it in a bag, and I've just pretty much thrown it in this to keep the cards from getting, yeah, because the box was great. It was carved wood and flowers on it, and I wanted something sturdy to protect the cards, and trying to do the best. It ends up not always working all the time. But I must say I do like them antiqued, and I probably never would have done this. Like I said, I'm not a deck altering person because of that, and the fact that this deck was no longer available. I never would have done it on my own. But now, because I was forced to, I kind of like the antique look of them, and I think it works for me anyways. Like I said, it's made it. So yeah, I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but it's kind of like bunch of art from Victorian times taken from different articles, papers, and then they're just put on, kind of collaged onto the cards. I just really, I enjoy this deck so much, and I loved working with it in January, and yeah, I just loved it. And coins as like, clocks, and it really has to do with the Victorian era, as far as like on the brink of the industrial age, and how things were changing, and some things were changing and others were not. And I like in the book, it tells what the art is about and what it was originally published and what it was and what was going on at the time. So I like that too. Like, this was taken from this picture and this was this. And so it's just it's very enjoyable experience. And the book is great. Love the book. So yeah, so that's why I worked with this deck in January, and this deck will always have fondness for me, just because just of the theme, and yeah, and the whole style of it. I just, from the moment I got it, I just loved it. So yeah, that's what that one was. Now for the Oracle decks that I used, I used the Archangel Metatron, which I already did a review on this and showed you the cards kind of, and it's by Amanda Ellis. And I worked with these in December, and I continued to work with them in January. I just felt like it was, I don't know, I guess I'm not alone. I think people, you get a new deck and you really like it. I keep it going into the next month if I'm really enjoying it, and I feel like I want to learn with it and connect with it, and that gave me the chance to do it. I know this deck is probably not for everybody, but I am absolutely enjoying it, and I am kind of sad I'm putting it away, but I am going to move on to other things. So yeah, I had a lot of fun using it, and for another month I enjoyed that guilty pleasure of not moving on from it. Now the other deck that I used for an Oracle, and this is going to be a trend for me moving forward, and I don't know how other people feel about it, but for me, just where I'm at, and as far as buying decks, I'm a huge tarot. My forte is tarot, but I do use Oracle decks in my daily practice. I draw my 3 tarot cards, and then I like to have a Oracle card for each tarot card that I draw, to kind of like round out what I'm supposed to be looking for. And I find that works. I really do love pulling the Oracle card to get a clarification on my daily cards. And so to keep things interesting, because I use 3 separate tarot decks, I also have to use 3 separate Oracle decks. And so, but overall, I'm not a huge Oracle fan, if that makes sense. And I think I'm a lot more picky with my Oracle decks than I am on my tarot decks. And so, like, I have like high standards for my Oracle decks, and so if I'm actually going to buy one, it's one that I have to absolutely love. Where tarot, I just love tarot. So, I mean, I can get a tarot deck and be disappointed in it, but I'm still going to I'll still use it, and because it's tarot in the system. And I do think that sometimes it forces me, even if it's a tarot deck that I don't really like as much, maybe, let's just say. Although I'm a very careful purchaser, so it's like when it comes to decks, just because like I said, I'm frugal, and they're not cheap. So I seldom have a deck where I'm trying to say now. I mean, years ago when I first started, I did, but now, by the time I get a deck, I've researched it so much, watched so many YouTubes, and I know whether it's going to resonate. And if there's a on this, then I'm not buying it. And so to me, the apps have really, the tarot apps, even the Oracle apps. I use the tarot apps also so that I can get a chance to use a deck and see, if I really, really love it, I'm going to get the hard copy of that. Or, which has happened to me several times now, there's been a couple of decks that are no longer in print, the Wizard's Tarot there, but you can get the app for it, and the Fairy Tarot, and you can get the app for that one too. So that's a lifesaver. And Obscure working, like it's a deck that that I'm going to study with and learn an alternate system. And it's not going to be something that I'm using for myself, but more of a study. I've gotten a couple of decks on the app that are just study decks. And for their purpose, that's what I need them. Now, I know it's this whole thing, do I need to hold the card, play the card, see the card? And I'm telling you right now, there are some card decks that I absolutely have to have the deck. I would be like, I couldn't go on without not having the actual card. But there are other decks where, no, and this is what I have found. Now, for my Oracle deck, I use the Arc of Metatron one. And then I also use these little playing cards, the Bob Ross. I don't know, people, if everybody knows who Bob Ross is, but he was a painter, and he used to do the, paint along kind of shows, and he was very talented. And in his show, he used to have little catchy phrases that we all just loved. And so there was these playing cards, and they took his little sayings. Let me extend a personal invitation for you to drag out your brushes and a few paints and paint along with us. And so every day I would draw one of these to go with a tarot card that I pulled. Now, sometimes you might think, well, that's an excuse. That's kind of how would you use that? But really, when I look at that, I think time for me, because I do adult coloring, and sometimes I think you need to be creative. I'm not, so like, power to the people who can, actually create actual art, or even modify like the decks, because I think that's an art form too, the way people can transform these decks. When I watch them, it's like amazing. So anything creative. So to me, this is like time to be creative. You're stagnant, or you're stressed to the max, and you know what, pull out some paints, pull out your color. So for me, it's my adult coloring books. Go color. You need to change your headspace and get out of everything that's day to day. So even though you might look at that and say, what the heck does that? I have been absolutely loving these for this month. Go out on a limb. That's where the fruit is. I mean, it's just awesome. It's to clarify a tarot card. This has been working amazing. It's not a very expensive deck. It's this like little, I can't explain it, but like this, just let your imagination go. You can create all kinds of beautiful effects just that easy. So it's just, find a way to be creative. I've even taken this into, I'm cooking a lot and making things in the kitchen because I love to cook. That's an art form too. Putting a bunch of ingredients together to make a recipe, that has been saving me this month as well. So sometimes it's like, oh, we'll go go use your coloring books, or you know what, I'm going to go bake something. I'm going to make something different for dinner. I'm going to spice things up. Yeah, life is a dredge, but you know what, you can change that in an instant, even with a meal. And it doesn't, and if you're, limited on funds, it's just like, it's much more frugal sometimes to cook at home. And you're learning a new skill if you don't know how to cook. I've always loved to cook, but I'm like ramping it up, and I'm doing things that I never thought I would do, and or the ingredients that I would never even use. And I'm trying new things, new foods that I wouldn't even try. So all jumping off from this this little deck. So that has really saved me in a very stressful month for me, because January has been very extremely, from the end of December, just before Christmas was when all the car stuff happened. So to now. So yes, has been a lifesaver. And so this cute little thing, I'm using it as an oracle, and I will probably go back to this probably fairly soon. I had so much fun with it. And so then that brings me to the other oracle deck that I used for the month of January, and that was the Goddess Oracle by Colette Baron Reid. And that was one that got a lot of controversy over the images depicted in it, and that was why I got it on the app anyways. She changed the way some of the goddesses looked. I can't show you because it's on my iPad, and that's what I film on. But I know everybody's aware of that deck. So my thing was, I'm going to use that deck. I actually did enjoy working with it. I think she is wonderful. I think her books are wonderful. If you know her style, she is all about changing and making something hers. And fluffing it up, and not fluffing it up, I can't say that. The artistic style that she's drawn to and that are represented in her cards are unique to her. And so did I necessarily, I'm not looking at all of those goddesses and saying, I know, as far as even down to, I was raised Catholic. Did Jesus have brown, light blonde, brown hair, blue? No, he did not. Is that the image of Jesus that I have as a child, and that kind of sticks in my mind? Yeah. Is that accurate? No. So it's all what you're comfortable with, and I get it. If you grow up with an image and that is your faith and your religion, then that probably is going to be very offensive to you, and I can understand your objection to it. To present it in a different way, does it change the message? Maybe it's getting some people involved in that wouldn't necessarily know. To me, everything is about, if I see something, I want to know more about it. If I'm going to incorporate a goddess into my life, I'm going to find out all that information on my own. I'm not going to take even one idea of it. I love research, and that's what I do, and I research everything. So I take the images with a grain of salt. Are they pretty? Are they, she prettified it? Yes, she did. Everything's beautiful. There's not an ugly person in the deck, an ugly goddess. Is that a deck that I would use all the time? No. But does the messages that come along with it, like I said, her guidebooks, I think are right on, spot on. You can learn a lot from them. And I don't think I'm not one to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So yeah, I think sometimes there's compromise, because that's what life is all about anyways. And I think if you can present something in a way that is your viewpoint, or how you like to see, like I said, there's a theme with her decks. So if you either like them or you don't. And for me, I do like her style, and I get a lot out of her book. So that's what I used my other oracle cards for January, was that oracle, and I used it on the app. And this was my first exploration into not having a physical card and using the app, and how that was going to be. And honestly, at first it was like kind of strange, but then once I got into that, I really did enjoy the way the cards look on the app, because you can see all the detail. It's very I could sit on the couch and actually just flip through the cards easily. They're all in one spot. Like, this is what I mean. Like, I don't have to worry about storage. And because it's not a deck that I'm extremely thrilled about, I like it, but I don't love it enough to get it in actual cards and then needing to store them. I like the convenience of it, and I also have some apps where I do have the cards of them, but I have them there because it's portable and you can take them anywhere, and I don't have to worry about them getting wrecked, lost, anything. So my goal is to incorporate more in my daily practice decks that are going to be on an app and not a physical card. And I think I'm getting the benefits of a lot of flexibility, convenience, and it's a good price point, and it's a way to get to know a deck and to say, you know what, okay, I really need this in the card form. I'd love to hear what others think about it, because I absolutely know there's some apps, cards, Oracle and / Tarot, that I will not be getting the physical cards for, but I am enjoying the apps so much, and I'm a richer person for it. Okay, so really quick, because we're already over 30 minutes in this, I just want to speed this up a bit, and I probably will come back later with some other things that I want to talk about, but I just want to quickly go over what decks I'm going to be using for wonderful February. And this is the Wildwood Tarot, and I'm very excited to be using this deck. One of my favorites. What can you say about it? Worthington's artwork is just, it's there. I don't have to go into it. Everybody knows this deck, so this is one that I'm going to be using. I'm kind of in a Worthington mood, so I am going to be using this one, and also the Druidcraft I'm going to be using. How can you not? I just feel like this is a great transition for me for February, going into spring. There's just an earthiness to it, and you get the cyclical effect, I think, of the seasons here. The waiting for winter, the promise of spring and summer. It's all in these cards for me. It's in the artwork. Just so beautiful. Running with that kind of Celtic feel that I started in January. So yes, Druidcraft, and as you can see, no alterations, because yeah, I mean, no. So there you go with that. And the other deck that I'm going to be using, I just felt it paired. I wanted a little of my traditional RWBS roots coming in, and the coloring in this deck, of course, is the Radiant Wise Tarot, known as the Dirty Pam, but this was the official, replacement for the Accident. I guess the other one was an accident that people got, and then they put it out. I love it because they solved my problem of no borders, and the coloring, I think, just lends itself to the other decks, the two other decks, the Wildwood, the Druidcraft, and that feeling of that I'm getting of waiting for spring, coming out of the winter. It's got the pop of color of it. Still, things are bland, but there's, the richness is coming, and I just think they just visually, these cards are going to look stunning next to each other. I am just thrilled with of how they all look together. I think the color theme is just, it's spot on for me. So I'm very excited. These are what I'm going to be working with for February, putting me in the mood. And then the Oracle cards that are going now. This is a perfect example. Now, I love Worthington's artwork. I love the Druidcraft. And I was on the fence. It's still on my wish list. They are both still on my wish list. The animal and the plant oracle that go with the Druidcraft. Like I said, they've been on my wish list forever, and I will most likely someday get them. Most likely someday. But for now, the app actually had a deal where you get both of those decks. And it includes the guidebooks, full guidebooks, both the card images for both of them. Everything is the same as far as the guidebooks are just as detailed, and you get both decks. And I don't know, it was a ridiculous price, maybe $10. I don't know, but it was like, really, it wasn't a lot. And so those those are two of my oracles that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using the animal one and the plant one, and I'm going to see how it goes. Again, what I just using it, flipping through it yesterday, what I loved about it is the cards are so big, the colors are there, and I'm just enjoying. And there's a lot of little things as far as like tracking your daily readings. I haven't really explored that part of the app yet, even on the other one, and that's another thing I'm going to start to explore. Like, can you really log it, and how easy is that to work with and keep track of your readings? Because sometimes I'm on the go, and that's the one thing, you pull your cards and I don't track them sometimes, or I have to go back and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to write my cards down, and then I go back and journal about them. But so yeah, I'm kind of excited to see how it's going to go, and that's two oracles that I'm going to be, actually all three oracles are going to be in the app. That's right. I'm using the Lucy Cavendish Fairy Oracle, and Fairy Forest Oracle, which I've always loved, and I'm very excited. The images in that's also on my wish list, and I know I will be getting that deck, but right now it's not. I have other things that I'm have going on that I can't, and I haven't really bought any new decks at all, except I did just order one yesterday, and that was, thank you, Simon. He showed the 5 Cent Tarot, which is it's off of an independent. It's an independent deck. I'll talk more about when I get it, but I just loved it. Had that it's Victorian clip art, and it doesn't have people, but it has like animals and bugs and different. It kind of reminds me of, in the style of that anatomy deck that was going along. I can't remember the name of it. Maybe somebody could put in. I think you know what I mean. The Apothecary anatomy deck had like skeletons and stuff. That one is on my wish list as far as do I want it. But this one, I just loved it. I just thought it was adorable. I loved the way that you could choose the backs of the cards. And I'm really excited to be getting that. That's ordered, so when that comes in, I'll be doing a review. I am going to call it this video at an end now, though, because me, it goes on and on and on, and yeah, my videos can tend to get too long. So we're going to stop it right there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you will come back, and if you're following me, I'm back. She's back. Again, and hopefully, like, one of my commitments is to really keep this channel going and just connect with you all, my spirituality, where that's going, and spells or whatever that I'm going to be doing. I do want to be incorporating that as well. I've said that right along. So yeah, thank you so much for joining, liking, subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you on another video. Thanks.